This is Rick Rule for Rule Investment Media, sponsors of the 2024 Natural Resources Investment Symposium, held July 7th through 11 in Boca Raton, Florida, or from the comfort and convenience of your own home via live stream. Note that however you choose to attend, we will present between 50 and 60 hours of high-value, high-intensity programming, more than you could possibly absorb in the 4 days of the conference. To that end, the conference tapes, the conference recordings will be available for you after the conference. Use them. There's lots of information that you wouldn't otherwise absorb. Also, to that end, before the conference, we will interview every exhibitor and every speaker at the conference so that you can reach out to those people before, during, and after the conference and come to the conference better able to allocate your time and attention to the speakers and exhibitors that interest you. Further, note that every public company exhibitor is owned in my account, which is to say that they have all been vetted. Every other non-public exhibitor, like the one that I am about to interview, are people that I have had contact with over 30 years and have experienced zero, repeat, zero customer complaints about. I have known the next interviewee, Rich Checkan, for probably 30 years, having started doing business with his uncle at Asset Strategies International at least 3 decades ago. Rich, thank you for your efforts on behalf of precious metals investors, and thank you too for decades of support of the Natural Resources Investment Symposium. I appreciate your efforts in both regards.
It's our pleasure, Rick. Thank you so much for appreciating that. It's what we live for. It's our passion.
So you have been in the business for a very long time. You have been a sponsor of the conference for a very long time. You did a great job in your presentation in last year's conference talking about the increase in gold and silver prices that we have witnessed over the last 12 months. But like that great analyst Janet Jackson once said, that doesn't matter. What have you done for me lately? Tell me why you think this price breakout occurred, and tell me why you think it might be continued into the future.
Yeah, no, that's a great question because we have a lot of people right now, Rick, that are sitting on the sidelines saying, wow, I missed it. I'm going to wait for that big pullback that I know is coming. And I really think they're going to be disappointed. We saw gold consolidate in price at all-time highs for 4 years. Silver, during the same 4 years, consolidated at half of its all-time highs. And like we said last year, gold at that level is dirt cheap. Silver at that level is cheaper. They were consolidating, Rick, not to go lower. They were consolidating to build that platform to go higher. And we're seeing that now with our own eyes. I think so far this year, gold's up about 15, 16%. Silver's up 31%. So we all know the explosive nature of silver. And there's nothing standing in its way right now in terms of geopolitical conflict, fiscal issues domestically here in the States with the dollar, which is what we measure gold and silver with. And, the environment is not there. The will is not there to bring our debt and deficit under control. So gold's going to continue to do what it does, and that's move higher in dollar terms.
One of the challenges that retail investors have in terms of taking advantage of the circumstance that you have described is the fact that the market for bullion and coins is not always very efficient. Specifically, in almost 30 years of putting on this conference, I have had to refuse exhibitor status to numerous dealers, either because I had consumer complaints in my former life, or because the premiums that they were charging were unconscionable, or because the products that they were offered were products that weren't necessarily geared to increases in the gold price. Can you talk to me something about consumer protection, not by way of legislation, but rather how consumers can guard themselves against unscrupulous practices in the industry, and also shop for premiums among products that suit them in terms of their own goals?
Oh, absolutely. And it's very, very simple, Rick. work with people that go to Rick's show. I mean, there's no two ways about it. If Rick lets them in, it's because there's no complaints, because they are taking care of people, because they understand that taking care of people is a positive, productive, successful long-term business model. Taking advantage of people is a very short-lived business model. You may make some money, but you're not going to be around tomorrow. So work with the people at Rick's show. I mean, us and others. The folks there are top of the tier, cream of the crop, and they will work with you to help you find the best product, bars, coins, what have you, at the lowest premiums when you're ready to buy in order to meet your goals and objectives. So they should be asking you, why are you buying this? Is it for protection? Is it for profit? What's your threshold in terms of pain, in terms of storing it yourself, putting it in the hands of professionals, et cetera? They're going to ask you all these questions, and then they're going to come up with the very best product on the market to meet your needs at that time. And that's why you don't get complaints from people that come to your show.
In terms of overviews of products, Rich, you're a well-known advocate as an example of the Perth Mint Certificate. Could
Yeah.
you talk to us about premiums, about liquidity across various asset classes? As an example, um, sovereigns or eagles
Yeah.
or maple leafs relative to more generic bullion, Englehart bars, relative to the Franklin Mint. I realize the question I just asked you requires an hour to answer thoroughly, but could you give
We
us a
can get it
little
done
bit of
quick.
an overview about what product is geared to what type of investor and how investors can pay the lowest transaction cost coming and going?
There's no question. So from talking in the past that I'm a big advocate of, first and foremost, buying physical metals and taking delivery yourself, right? Because gold's purpose is a store of value. It's wealth insurance. It's a store of purchasing power in a very liquid form for a potential financial crisis you hope to never have. So in order to be able to take advantage of gold as wealth insurance, you have to have it close at hand. So you take delivery, usually coins or bars to start with, to a certain point where you can bridge any short-term gaps, and or you feel comfortable safeguarding and storing it yourself. Once you hit that threshold, put it in the hands of the professionals. That's your next step. They're very good at what they do, and we can make some recommendations as to the best of those storage facilities to work with. Top of the heap would be Perth Mint, and the Perth Mint Certificate Program. There, your premiums are 2.25% above spot to buy. You look at an Eagle, for instance, right now, in terms of 10 to 20 coins at a pop, you're probably paying 5-6% potentially over spot. Now, when you sell back at Perth, you're going to get 1.25 below spot. So you have about a 3.5% round turn. When you sell back that Eagle, you're going to get paid above spot typically, but you're still going to have a wider margin. So your bullion products are going to have a wider margin than Perth Mint certificates and storage in Australia. But that's your second step. First step, buy coins and bars, take delivery. Bars will have a lower entry price. Credit Suisse, things of this nature on the gold side, Ingleharts and so forth on the silver side. But they're also going to have a lower buyback price, and your spreads for coins and bars end up being about the same. When you get to semi-numismatics, sovereigns, Swiss Helvetias, French roosters, things of this nature, your margins tend to be even wider. So be careful. All things are not equal in the bullion world. Ask your trusted dealer if they're worth their weight in gold. They'll give you the right answers and get you in at the best premiums.
Rich, when you suggest that people take delivery, as you know, I've always been a little nervous about that. I've had a couple
Yeah,
clients who, as a consequence of taking delivery, were visited by folks who they didn't normally want to have over for lunch. Can you tell me
understood.
something about the storage options and what people might do to safeguard themselves if they take physical delivery?
Yeah, that's a great question. The first thing I will tell you is you do not want to let people know what you just bought, right? So keeping a low profile is the number one way to protect your assets when you're storing precious metals at home. Don't go to your neighbor and say, "Look at the gold eagle I just bought," or "Come see my Swiss Helvetia collection." You don't want anybody to know that you have it other than your loved ones. Others have gone ahead and put, safes cemented into the floors of their basements, or they practice midnight gardening where they'll put gold and silver coins in a PVC pipe and bury it in the yard. All those are options. I think they're too far gone. Just shut your mouth, keep a low profile, keep it in just a quiet, fire insulated place where nobody would expect. And if you need it, it'll be there for you. Not a big fan of safe deposit boxes at the bank. If there's a run on the bank, if there's an issue with the economy or the dollar, first thing that happens is the bank doors close. You want to have it somewhere that's accessible.
Rich, finally, if people are more interested in your products and learning more in the services that you offer, who do they contact and how do they reach that person?
Me, often, and repeatedly. Anytime you have a question before, during, or after the event, contact me at Checkan. So RCHECKAN at assetstrategies.com.
Rich, thank you for your efforts for many years on behalf of gold and silver investors and speculators. Thank you, too, for your ongoing support of the Natural Resources Investment Symposium. I look forward to hosting you in Boca Raton.
Looking forward to seeing you there, Rick. Thank you.